up.
Got a new bunch of salespeople coming in. Got to get them ready and prepped.
Yep, you've got a lot of work that has to happen, and it's kind of the same thing. You've got new computers, whether it's a tech refresh, you've got those computers imaged. You have to get the baseline of applications out, etc. We're gonna cover that today. If you have any questions, by all means, throw down.
And Briggs on phone a friend. So
yep. So let's go ahead. Let's jump right in. Let's do it. Number one, back to school.
You've been on summer vacation.
Yes, and just some housekeeping. So maybe you've also, now that the school's been out and you've been working on other things, and you maybe haven't opened up deployer inventory.
Be honest, man. When school's out, I'd be out too if I was working in school. So honestly, mentally, you've not been there.
But there's a paycheck. Whereas before with school, okay. there's still a few adults there.
All right.
So maybe you haven't opened up deployer inventory. When you open it up, you might notice a little message in your status bar. Remember, this is the status bar right down here, right there. You might notice a little message that says
updated version available.
There's an updated version. That go out there and download and install that version. You might see one that says there's a new license. Maybe your license is expired. You'll see a license is expired, and that's very important. If you see that, you're not getting new packages available in the package library. Your collection library is not getting updated. But also, it could be that, oh yeah, I've got the new. The purchasing send out the new pay the invoices for the next year, but you haven't updated that in your console. So you'll get a notice saying, hey, this license still works, but you need to apply a new license to it. So you'll get that, whether it's expired or, hey, there's a new license.
So out the gate, get your tools updated.
Yep. If you are using Deploy 13, we've moved some of these things around, but what you want to do, and under Help, and this is in pre-13, this is in the Preferences menu, or Preferences window, go to License. If you have a new license to enter, click on the Enter License, copy and paste that full license key, including the beginning and end lines, right in there.
Bang, you're off to the races.
But this, once again, we're kind of highlighting things that we take a fairly close look at our support queue at this time of year, and there's quite a few things that pop in there. Also, and once again, it kind of depends on your environment. Maybe you've already got everything cleaned up, spick and span, but there's a lot of teachers that come back, and maybe they bring their old computers, their old laptops, they hook them up for the first time, and you try to deploy to them, you get a target name mismatch error. A lot of the problems are going to be centered around DNS. All right. In fact, we have Brig in as phone a friend, and I'm going to throw we're going to go over to Brig, if you don't mind, Brig, and you can just mention a few things about DNS that people are going to want to jump on.
So there's a few things. Scavenging, of course, we've talked about scavenging a lot. We have some bonus content. We have a video that Lex and I did about kind of a deep dive into DNS, but scavenging is very important to set that up. It has to be set up in 3 specific areas within, it's kind of like a fail-safes. So you want to make sure that that's set up. Also on your DHCP server, you want to make sure that your clients are always updating, and that if you right-click, like on the scope, the IPv4 scope, and then go to Properties, you'll see DNS there, and that gives you the option to kind of basically force the clients to update every time they switch. So that's super important.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yep. We got a video on that one, so guys, check that one out.
Yeah.
I want to call out something. In your Preferences window, before we go to a question, JJ, in your Preferences window, Options, Preferences, pre-13, go to File Preferences.
Yep.
Under Performance, in Deploy, you will see Test Multiple Addresses in Name Resolution. This doesn't directly affect computers that have been on for a long time. This really is, I want to call this out. This happens when you've got computers that will get multiple IP addresses because it's like a laptop that goes from one subnet to another. Maybe you're going to be seeing a little bit more of that as new teachers come in, or new salespeople if it's the end of the fiscal quarter in September for you, etc.
Check that box, it will help.
Yeah, what you do when you check this box, when we go out to see if a computer's online, we will literally say, hey, do you respond to this ping? And we ping the first returned record, the IP address returned from DNS. But if there's a laptop that's got 3 records because DNS hasn't been able to keep up, and one of those is an old address, by checking this, if a computer returns as a no response, but it has multiple addresses, we'll just traverse through all those records, all those A records, until either all the A records have expired and no response has been given, or
We get a response.
we get a response.
Yeah.
So test multiple addresses. That's in your preferences. You're going to want to click that. We have a question.
Dear Shane and Lex, how often are the inventory collections updated? For example, I have a collection that contains PCs that are members of collections that contain old, and after the PCs are updated and perform an application scan, the collection still shows that they are outdated. I have to hit F5 for inventory to refresh for the clients to get moved out. Sincerely, T3CH Guy 007.
Tech 07. All right. Good catch. Number one, hitting F5. Yes, hitting F5 does force a refresh. Now, the collection membership, when you say updated, you're talking about refreshed. There's another term for updated, and that is when a value changes, like a version or something changes, gets updated. We're talking about the refresh. What you're noticing, I'm going to go over here to the collection library. I'm going to assume this sounds like what you're talking about. Let's go to media players and iTunes. You can see iTunes has, if you can zoom in there, I'm not sure if you can, 21 computers next to it. And we'll expand that, and we'll say the machines of the latest version are 16 machines, 5, etc. You push out a new version of iTunes to this collection, and that you're sitting there looking, and that 5 still shows up there. We are constantly refreshing all the membership of the collections in the background. However, what will throw the collection to the highest priority, so it's evaluated absolutely next, is when that collection is referenced. Whether it's a clicking, so you click on iTunes old, just clicking on that will cause that to go to the front of the queue and get refreshed. If this collection is a target in a link to, it's a link to target in
PDQ deploy.
So deploy says, hey, it's time to kick off this schedule to machines in iTunes old. That causes that to get refreshed right then. So you'll notice several seconds, even up to a minute, of, hey, this doesn't seem to be updating the number. It's because it's not being referenced and it's not as high in the queue.
Yep.
So
eventually it'll do it.
Yes, it really depends the lag time on the number of computers in inventory as well as the number of collections, because we have to process all those. One note, we do process the collection library at a slightly lower priority than we do collections that you've created. Yep. And the reason for that is, there's a lot of collections in the library that you may not need. Yeah. And so but if you've created a collection where we look at that as, this is something you're very interested in. Yeah. So it does have a higher priority. But it's when it's referenced. So don't worry. We've shown that on webcasts before. It's when it's referenced that will get updated, or when it's selected in the collection window. Brig, do you want to add anything to that, my man?
No, that's pretty much basically exactly it, yeah.
Pretty much basally exactly.
Pretty much kind of sort of the same.
Yep, definitely. Pretty much mostly.
We're trying to tell Brig to be more verbose.
Brig, pretend you're on the radio,
you're too
not
succinct,
on TV
dude.
this time. Man.
I'm sorry.
That's a definite guarantee of a possible maybe.
Yes.
All right, if we have another question, or you want us to move on down the line? All right. Thank you.
I'll drink to that.
But since we're here in inventory, I wanted to show you, go to options, in preferences. Under network, so this is in a different location in preferences than it is in deploy. In inventory, in the network window, that's where you have test multiple addresses and name resolution. Click that. You'll also notice your interval for your heartbeat. Right? The default setting is 300 seconds or 5 minutes. The lowest setting you can have, I believe, is 120. 120 seconds. Let's see.
Try 119.
Yeah.
Yep, 120.
So 120 if you want. We don't recommend doing 120 unless you have only
Briggs over there's like, no.
If you have 100, 200 computers, you're fine. Once you start getting into the thousands of computers, you might even need to increase that from 300 seconds to 500 seconds or something. Yep. Yeah. That's just basically saying if a computer hasn't been verified that it's online in the last X number of seconds, send a ping to it. If you have 10,000 computers, 300 seconds, you're constantly pinging. You're not getting through those thousands in that 300 seconds, and
Before
they're just constantly, give it a break. Try to pad that a little bit.
Do the math.
Please.
Yeah, because you can get into a heartbeat loop.
Yeah, you can.
Just be this eternal heartbeat.
People who said, you know what, when I when I increased that from 300 seconds to 450 seconds, I just noticed the resources of inventory went down a little bit.
Yep.
You know, the resource consumption. So perfect. When you open up inventory for the first time, once again, just like deploy, make sure you've got the latest license. You've got a lot of computer. If you don't, let's see. Depending on your environment, I'm going to throw a few use cases out.
Okay,
All right. So let's say that you've got all the old computers from the last school year in here, and you've got new images. You've got new all these machines have been replaced. You might have a bunch of old machines in here. There's a couple of ways you can clean them up. We highly recommend
Active Directory sync.
absolutely in preferences. Again, we're going to go to Active Directory. We recommend that you do sync if you use Active Directory. We recommend that you have Active Directory synchronization turned on. There's 3 delete modes. Import only, you'll never see us remove a computer from here unless you delete it. Import only grabs the computer from Active Directory from your sync containers.
Puts it in, leaves it there forever until you delete it.
Mixed sync, that's if you have computers that aren't in Active Directory or are not in the containers that you're syncing, but you still want them in inventory, then you're going to want to do mixed. If Active Directory is the primer, if it is the final word on what is on your network, then change that to full sync. And then way we have this set up is every day, once a day, we're going to do a sync, but you can change that. The lowest interval is 30 minutes. Just depends on your environment, where this will go out to your sync containers and grab all the objects in there and throw them in inventory. If your delete mode is at full sync, and you have machines that are not in your sync containers, they will be removed from inventory.
They absolutely will.
And remember, it's very common. So we've got Deadwood local. We have the Deadwood computers. If you want to include, you can also include. Go to your root, maybe Deadwood. I want all of Deadwood, not just Deadwood computers, all of Deadwood, and sync that. But I want to exclude something like domain controllers. I just don't want domain controllers in here. I click the exclude button, hit that, and now you can see the checkboxes.
It will.
It's not included. It is that way you can say I'm going to grab everything at this top level, but at this one container here. Another popular one is if you have a lot of old objects in Active Directory and your policy is you're not allowed to delete those, either disable them if they're showing up in inventory and you don't want them. If you disable them, notice this little option right here.
Sync disabled computers.
That's turned off by default. Most people don't want those. If you do want them, then check it, and you must like pain.
Okay, now another interesting thing about this is, let's say you're redoing machines and you name them the same thing. You may run into issues deploying to them because of deployment histories.
We'll cover that in just a moment. Thank you for bringing that up. What I was going to mention, though, if you can, maybe you're not allowed to delete or disable those objects. If you can move them to either a security group or an OU, like a disabled computers OU, and then exclude that container, then all those old computers will be removed from inventory, so that you're not having to see nothing but a bunch of ghosts.
One last thing on sync, okay? We only do read only, so if you exclude them or delete them here, we don't delete them off Active Directory. It is only in the database on your console.
That is inevitably a question that will show up. Whoa, are you guys going to be deleting objects from Active Directory? No.
Yeah, we get that question a lot, actually.
Oh, thanks.
That's good.
Yeah, so as Lex said, it is read only. I'm going to go ahead and remove that. So when you hit delete, you can delete those containers that you've also added. Want to call that to your attention. Make sure you're jumping on that. Now, what Lex had mentioned. Let's jump over. Well, actually, before we jump over, when you're in inventory, first time you open this up, I want you to scan all your computers. Now, we do have an online. It's one of the default one of the built-in collections. Online systems. If you don't want to waste your time with trying to scan computers that are offline, just go to your online systems and scan those. I'm going to go ahead and do it.
When you do that, if it's been a while since you've been on, and let's say your credentials have expired, you will know.
What a great segue. Thank you very much.
It's like we planned it.
Yeah. Remember, in credentials, and we're going to approach this, let's go over here to deploy, but this works in deploy and inventory. This is very applicable. Deploy and inventory. You have your background service. Let's come over here to credentials. You have your background service. And the background service In this case, I believe it's Al Swearingen. We can find out by going over here to Options, Background Service. Yep. Oh, it's Quintana. So it's
yeah.
Quintana. If the password for Quintana has changed during the summer in Active Directory, you're going to need to change that here. But you won't be able to do anything as far as successful deployments or using Quintana because that background service is like saying, hey, it's trying to authenticate. Jen, you're probably going to lock out Quintana. So most of you have that dialed in. What we want to call to your attention is, okay, it's a new school year. And you've got multiple credentials. So Quintana, yes, password was changed in July.
Took care of
I
it.
went and changed it here. But I'm going to go to credentials. Notice we've got other credentials that you might deploy as. Those may have changed as well, and that's not going to be as apparent. For example, let's go ahead. We got a test package here. We're just going to deploy, but we're going to make sure to use the dude. Remember, when you are selecting your credentials to deploy with, it's right there in your deploy window. It's going to use the dude, unless you have use PDQ inventory scan user. Then it will use the scan user if it exists. Anyway, the dude, we're going to go ahead and say, let's go to D7. So now you're going, oh, well, it's back to school time. I'm going to hit a deploy, push this out. And if that password is changed in Active Directory and you have not changed that credential,
This is what you're going to end up seeing.
yeah, it's going to try to connect, and then you're going to get an invalid, it's an incorrect username or password. It's basically it's returning error code 5. All right. So you're going to see that and go, oh no, what do I do? What do I do? Well, it's simple. There it is. The username and password is incorrect. Come over to Options, go to Credentials, and note that did log as an incorrect login attempt. So if you have this set to lock an account out after like 5 consecutive logon attempts,
There's a very good chance
you could lock that out. You might have to go to Active Directory and unlock that.
It, yeah.
Anyway, we're going to go to the dude. It's very simple. We're just going to edit the credentials and put in the new password.
Password 1.
You can test the credentials. It's really easy if it's on if it's Active Directory. Just say it. Test successful. Perfect. So that
We're
worked.
good to go. Relaunch.
And that will go for
deployment.
all of these. Any credentials that you have set. So now I will do a redeploy. Still using the dude, and we'll hit deploy now. And then this one should work. So yeah, let's throw it down.
Dear Shane and Lex, is there a way to make a recurring schedule for optional Windows updates as they become available? Thanks so much for your wisdom, Mary M.
For optional Windows updates. Okay, so we have
Cumulative
it's hot in
updates.
here.
It is really warm. Yeah.
So we grabbed the cumulative as far as the package library is concerned. And you can obviously attach those to a schedule or create an auto deployment. But I'm going to remove the option. If it's optional and it's not included in the cumulative updates that we provide, you have to go out there and grab those.
Yeah.
So
Now you could make a schedule to send that out, but you're going to be in charge of making sure that you put the new stuff in and clearing the history.
correct.
Okay.
But let's take this from. Maybe she's also talking. Just look at the cumulative ones.
Okay.
You come out here to your package library. In fact, we have 3 updates.
Nice.
Three updated packages. One of those is the Windows 10 cumulative updates.
Excellent.
We can create a new auto deployment for this. And this is the Win 10 1703. So this will happen as this comes out.
I like the M though.
Do you?
I do. I like the M.
Okay. And we're just going to put any schedule
Stands
here.
for
We'll just
Microsoft.
we'll do weekly on Friday and Monday. How's
Middle
that
of the day. Do
All
it
right,
right in the middle of the day, man.
11 a.m. How's that
Sorry, I
sound?
love it.
And then our targets, we're going to link to, if you use the collection library in PDQ inventory, we have this ready for you. We link to,
I built a collection called People I Want to Mess With.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a very select list, but
JJ's on it.
I know.
You're on it.
Everything's coming together now.
Yeah, the evil.
I'm on it as well.
There's the 1703. So these
You
are
figured me
machines.
out.
These are machines that have 1703, Windows 10 1703, and they're in the old. So we're linking to this.
That's different than choosing targets. Choosing targets is going to make a static collection, guys.
It's a
Or
static target list.
Target list. Excuse me. Thank you.
Not even
Static
target list. A static list of targets.
list of targets. Yeah.
We have target list. Anyway, so now we're linking to any computer. We're going to run this on Friday and Monday. Any computer that has this, we'll go ahead and say OK. And what it's going to do is, notice there's a little exclamation point right there. That's because it's now downloading
The package.
it's downloading those installation files and creating an auto deployment package. And by default, there's an auto approve setting time of 7 days. I'm not sure what we have that set here, if it's been changed at a previous.
Should be under your preferences.
We're going to go to auto deployment under Win 10 schedules, and you'll see there's that schedule right there. And notice, yep, the approval. Let me just move out of the way. And there we
Oh
go.
man, I can. That's it. I'm no longer allowed to use the highlighter. I can't do
There
it.
we go. By default, it's 7 days. By the way, where is that stored? In preferences. This is for only the value that will be used for auto approve as you create new auto deployment schedules under package library. Here it is.
Boom, right there.
Automatic 7 days. So maybe you want to lower that to 3 days or increase that or whatever. You can set that there.
Yeah, I like
This will
launching.
only change it for future.
Yeah.
But you can come over here. Once again, we're in auto deployment, Win 10. We're going to change this one, and we'll say just approve this one immediately.
Really, you're going to do that?
I'm just going to
You're just gonna do that.
show them the options.
All right.
So, Mary, to answer your question now, my computers will get this kicked off on Mondays and Fridays. You can modify the schedule as you wish as they come out, because the second deploy sees the new version, because we have this set to automatically and immediately approve. It's going to say, oh, there's a new version, came out July 31st, and we're going to attach that to this schedule. The next time the schedule runs, those computers will be updated. So that's how you can do it. If you're talking about other patches that we don't offer, you need to go out there, grab those packages, build those, or grab those install files, build the packages, and then have attach those to your schedule.
And then if you update that, just clear out your computer history so they get the new stuff.
That's really important, because that's part of the back to school thing.
It really is.
Especially for those of you that you have all your old computers from the previous school year. And this works in even non-school environments. Basically, if you have a process for imaging new machines and you keep the same name of that machine, then deploy is going to keep, in scheduling terms, they're going to keep what's known as
History.
yes, thank you very
And
much.
basically, it's going to say, hey, I've already deployed to Shane 01. I'm not sending this again.
Yep. So let's look at this schedule. We have a schedule for Adobe Air. Let's change the name of there.
You can get
And
Katie
you
in
can
here
see
typing
you
with
can
my
see that
hand.
D10 Chris Lab has already installed this successfully. And as Katie had mentioned in the pre-show, if you were watching, if you have this, we'll set that stop, because we turned that off. I remember we turned that off in the previous webcast. If you have stop deploying to targets once they succeed checked, this computer
Because it's already had it, won't
says,
get it again.
yeah, I've already received this particular package successfully. I'm not going to deploy it again. So there's some ways that you can clear this. Number one, this window will usually be full. You can just highlight a computer object or do multi-select, shift, or control. If we have to tell you that, you're probably watching the wrong webcast if we have to teach you how to multi-select. And then you can just hit delete, delete from all schedules. Or if you just hit delete, it'll remove it from here, and then it will push this out the next time the schedule
Next time
kicks
it
off.
runs, yep.
It's very important. Those of you who use an imaging program,
Like a fog,
yes,
MDT, those kind of things.
you can have like a task sequence or a snap-in that runs a command line at the end of that, placing the image on that system. You can run a PDQ deploy command. And this is where you can actually kick off what we're going to talk next. Kick off baseline applications like
A baseline package or even a baseline type schedule.
But there's also I'm going to open up the command window here. Our path. I've moved the path already to PDQ deploy. There's a PDQ deploy. There's a PDQ deploy command line option. You hit enter, you'll see the usage statement, and one of those options is delete schedule history. So you could say PDQ delete, and if you schedule history, if you just run that without any parameters, it'll give you the usage just for that. In this case, it's dash computer. So in your, my goodness, I suck.
Wow.
Welcome to my world.
In your script, in your snap-in or task sequence, whatever you're using in your deployment or your OS imaging, when you're running this command, you would do computer, and then you'd pass usually the variable name, like host name or computer name here, and it will say, "Oh, I'm going to whatever computer we've referenced here that is in that variable. It's going to now delete that all the history of that computer."
Now, you do need the schedule ID on that one. Am I right on that?
No, I think you can actually do
Can you use a schedule name on that? It's
What's
like
the
you
name
can
of
do
that?
it from all schedules.
D10
Actually,
for
yeah,
slide.
if you've re-imaged a machine, you can nuke them from all schedules,
D10
which actually makes sense.
-chr-lab. Oh, and then all schedules, sorry.
Testing.
Once again, the usage statement is great, all schedules.
Reading is fundamental.
Now it's been removed, so if we come back over here, we'll open that back up. Why isn't that showing? Maybe I typed it in wrong. Maybe it needs to be the host name. D10 Chris Lab. I don't know.
All right.
Anyway, it does work.
If you do it right, not like we did it works, okay?
It is very important. You can also right click and say either delete or delete from all schedules. If you have re-imaged Chris, this
all
D10
schedules,
Chris,
that's every schedule.
every schedule that this computer has a target history of success.
So regardless of the one I've got open, all of them. Okay.
And this is really important, once again, for those of you who re-image computers and you keep the same name.
Yep.
Do we have any more questions? Yeah, let's throw it on.
Dear Shane and Lex, when the client agent is released, will that get rid of any DNS naming issues that occur from stale records? Sincerely, Totto.
Hey, Todd. Okay, the client can certainly help, but DNS, in this case, really you'll still need to have a clean DNS.
Yeah. Ultimately, what did you say, Brig? 80% of all network problems are DNS, and so are the other 20%.
It's always DNS, yeah.
Clean up the DNS,
It
guys.
is
It will
really-
fix so many problems.
It
It's
really
not
will.
DNS. It is.
I will say this. This probably the single best advice that's given on keeping your DNS up to date is the scavenging. And I am still surprised at the number of environments that don't have DNS scavenging enabled. Scavenging literally removes the stale records and keeps that up to date. So you want to have your DNS scavenging enabled. Do you want to add anything to that?
No, I mean, yeah, it is the most important thing. I mean, obviously, I love DNS, like probably more than I really should. But yeah, it's scavenging is super important, especially in modern Windows.
I'm going to say it how it is. If you're not scavenging, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah,
Seriously,
that's cool.
in my mind.
I really quick, I want to go back to school. You're going to create what's known as, or most likely, you're going to have a baseline of applications. I want all my computers or all computers in these different departments or classrooms to have
these same programs.
So what you can do, let's say that you want Adobe Air and Adobe Reader DC, and we'll do iCloud just since it's here. I'm going to select those three right there. Now I can create a deployment right now and just say push these out, and it deploys them in the order of which you selected. Or you can create a new package nesting these, and now you have one package that calls those three external, or those three packages, and you can just deploy this or have this part of a schedule so that when you are imaging a computer, I mentioned that task sequence or the snap-in, it's going to say, hey, deploy this baseline, and you can maybe call this, baseline or something like that. Deploy baseline, and it will push out all those
That
applications.
is really an original name, man.
Thank you very much.
Baseline.
Another way to do the baseline is also from a schedule where you literally come over and say, I'm going to create a new schedule with these packages, and we'll just choose targets. We'll link these to Active Directory
Yeah,
container.
I was going to say, let's say you had an Active Directory container called New Computers, or
New computers that are first introduced after their baseline, they go into this OU perhaps. It all depends on your environment. We'll just say okay to that really quick. Open it back up, and you're going to see these packages are there, and it will. The next time the schedule kicks off, you have to add your triggers. It will push those out, all these packages to those target computers.
That's my preferred method. I like doing
A lot of
schedules.
people do prefer this. There's a lot of ways up Mount Fiji. Do we have any more questions, JJ? All right.
So going back to school, I got my
Yeah.
pencil.
Teacher, got my pencil.
That's right.
Yeah, so anyway, rock on. Use your schedules. Use your baseline apps, right? Or your baseline. Use the PDQ deploy command
Credentials,
line.
guys, get those right out the gate. Get your credentials and get updated.
Get your DNS going. And if you don't have control over your DNS, then buy the DNS guy a beer and get scavenging enabled. All right?
By all means.
Hey, welcome back. School year starting. We'll talk to you guys the next time around.
Be nice
rock
to your
on.
be nice to your teachers.
Thanks for joining our webcast today. We'd like to congratulate Mary M. and Todd O., winners of PDQ swag. Also, Kathleen F., winner of our floppy coaster. Send us your info at webcast@pdq.com. Good luck prepping for back to school, and we'll see you back here next week.